you had issues with your back, and you had
Mm.
some revelations there as well. Maybe you
I
should share
did.
some of that.
I I started training for an Ironman stupidly. Um, and the training's quite hardcore. So it's every day. You get one rest day, and it's like you either built for running or you're not. And I'm not. There's nothing light and sinewy about me. Anyway, it started falling apart. I think the running started making everything start coming undone. I'm quite convinced. But honestly, I think that's what happened. Running's supposed to make you stronger, but it actually started making me just fall apart. So I have hyper flexibility, like, I can do the full ridiculous. My butterfly is not like normal people. Like my shoulder blade is just swinging around, and my hips, my ankles are just flopping about the place. And after pregnancy, when all your ligaments stretched even further, mine never came back. So I walk around the day kicking myself, you know, just like throw my butt this way, click back into place and feel better. And then a few steps later, throw my butt. It's not normal. But I think that started really coming undone. And I did a lot of yoga and I used to do strength training. And so I think that was holding it all together. And then I stopped all that and started doing endurance training, the running, the cycling, the swimming. And I stopped yoga and I stopped strength training. And when this all started to feel a bit like, oh, like something's not right, and never mind all the other stuff, stresses in life happening, that was the physical element. And then there was all the mental and emotional elements. And it got to the point where 2.5 weeks ago, I was literally frozen. Like my back was in such agony. I was on all fours and my whole back had spasmed. I couldn't move. And it's quite frightening to feel like that, where you're totally unmobile. And it's quite terrifying. And
Does it
Nick
happen
wasn't here. Now,
suddenly?
no, it was getting sore and sore and sore, and then that day when I was like, oh, I actually can't even sit. I need to like bend on like all fours. So the kids and I are playing Monopoly, and I kind of was like lying with my like in a fetus position playing Monopoly, and then I'd have to move. But then I got so into the game, I forgot to move, and everything froze, and I couldn't actually get up. And the kids look slightly alarmed, and I look slightly alarmed. And I was like, okay, I really need to sort this out now. I'm actually frozen. And I had to take hot baths, like to ease it. That was all that helped. So I went and saw a chiropractor, and she's excellent. So she's like, oh, I can see you next month. And I'm like, I'm not gonna make it. I need help now. So she saw me a couple of days later. And it's ridiculous what
Gina,
chiropractors can do. Yeah.
what made you take so long to go sort it out? I mean, why do you think you allowed yourself to get into that state where you were so frozen and in so much pain before you decided to do something about it?
Mm. I think because I don't like drama, I like to just get on with life. Do you know what I mean? And I'm always convinced it's just going to sort itself out. And if I get my mind straight, the body will follow. But I wasn't able to get my mind straight. I was everything's been out of whack. And I didn't have the capacity to start from the top and get it back. I didn't. I needed help. And I think that's it. It's a really good question. Yeah. and
Yeah.
and she was excellent, and she started just working with my muscle groups, and she was like, this is so weak, you've got no strength holding you together. And I'm like, okay, so I need to go back to gym and start like doing strength. She's like, no, you need to just find your core again. And so I was ready to go hit the gym and hit hard weights for an hour. And she's like, no, you're going to go home and you're going to talk to your pelvic floor and go high pelvic floor and activate your core. And just little gentle ones. Let's just talk. And I'm like, what do you mean? How's this going to help me? Should we starting from the beginning? Because everything is so out of whack. your core can't even work. It relies on your back muscles getting involved because your nervous system calls your back muscle groups to help. That's how unconnected and unregulated everything is. So, and she called it out. She said, your nervous system is not happy. And I was like, whoa, that's amazing. So your nervous system has rewired to go, your core can't support you. We have to call on other muscle groups. So we now have to rewire all those neural pathways again. And I was like fascinated. So literally had to go and do like Kegels and then find my core. And it was really flipping hard because I could feel my muscle groups coming. So I had to go back all the way back to basics. And after a week and a half of that, I went back and she did the exercises and it was phenomenal. I could feel it building, as silly and ridiculous as that sounds. I could feel the strength coming back. And then we moved on. Now I'm doing glute exercises where I'm ignite, because apparently when I was walking, my one glute wasn't firing at all. I, yeah, like
So did you have one
everything I just
big gluteus maximus
yeah,
and
one
one
nice
small
bum
one?
and one floppy bum, and then all the muscles around the floppy bum are super strong. you know. Yeah. So anyway, and then she also said collagen for strengthening, and I started that, and I found a really, she said, find a really good one. I found a really good bovine one, and it has been life changing. I feel strong again, like stronger than I felt in a long time, and my energy's back, and I'm not like groaning every time I bend or get up like I'm pregnant. Like it was getting bad. And, you think about it, I still have a lot of decades to get through where I'm actually allowed to be near groaning when I get up. Like this is serious. And so I'm going to see her a few times, get it all realigned, and really look after myself again. Um, and along with
Are you
that,
still
I
clicking
can,
yourself in?
no, no. That
Because you
click
don't
was
need
because
to.
I'm
Do
out of
you still
alignment.
feel like you need to?
No.
Oh, wow. Wow. That's amazing.
So for years, I have been sitting out and then I click myself out more. And then I might have been going
Yeah.
back and then I click myself. Yeah, it's actually terrifying. So yeah, it's a really interesting question you ask. Why didn't you get help earlier? Why did you feel it was
But that's
okay to
also
walk around?
interesting, Jean, that you've always been very good with your exercise. For
Mm.
anybody that doesn't know Gina, she's very diligent. She always does what needs to be done. She's a
I got most
responsible adult.
diligent.
And
That was
so
the certificate.
she's always she always does her breathing, she always does her exercise, she always does her meditation and her journaling and her job and her kids, and everything always happens when it's supposed to happen. And so that's amazing how even for someone like you who exercises every day without question, it wasn't working for you the type of exercise you were doing.
Anyway, I have to do the Ironman. I've like committed. I will do it, and then I'll probably stop running because it's hardcore. Like an elephant.
It is hard.
Elephants don't run fast for long.
No,
They do, but not for
no,
long. Just saying.
yeah. And they don't do it for fun either.
No, exactly. They do it to like protect and scare off, and that's all. And then they stop and they breathe and they eat.
They've
Yeah.
got to figure
Anyway,
out.
that was really interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Okay.
suppose it don't let it get bad. Like look after yourself. Don't get to the point where you actually can't move. If you've got a problem, sort it out because it might be a really simple solution, like lying on your bed and doing a Kegel to reignite your core. Like that's where it starts.
And also, it's interesting how you had to go back to the beginning with gentle, soft, like and you had to get right in touch with your feminine again, like right down to your
Yeah.
Kegels. I mean, it doesn't get more
Yeah.
intense than that.
Yeah,
That's
I like
very
that.
interesting.
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you feel like you were losing touch with your feminine side or your femininity or your
I think when you're out of whack and out of balance, you've lost touch with everything to an extent.
yeah, and it's always about coming back to your core, huh? That's where
Mm.
that's where your
And,
whole
and
beingness is.
exactly, it's all in the center. And it's very interesting that you say like the Kegel and your femininity, because that femininity is our strength, right?
Mm. Mm.
That is where we get our strength from, and that holds it all together. And for a woman, I think that space, that like womb Kegel area is the the base of it all. And if that isn't there, the rest of the center can't be there.
And
Yeah.
you lose touch with it because you're so busy being a service to everybody else around you that you lose your strength, which is then in your Kegel and your core, which is the case for so many millions of women.
Yeah. And then
Exactly.
and then
So,
just I want to tell one more quick story. And then
yeah.
what last week or last time we met, you gave a beautiful you were explaining how you got through your move and your transition. You spoke about gratitude. And in the clip, you
Mm.
said, gratitude, gratitude, gratitude. I can't say it enough. Gratitude. Anyway, and I was editing. I did the editing and then the clips for social, and often that would come gratitude, gratitude. And so it became a mantra. I just kept hearing gratitude through my life, right? On was Halloween. And so, we had our pumpkins and our outfits and we were going trick or treating. But we also needed to leave Nick with some sweets so that if kids came, they didn't trash our house. Um, and so we went off to the shop to go get some treats and dinner. And as we were driving through the parking lot, there was this woman and she was holding a young child, and this kid was going ballistic. And I drove past and I still thought, oh God, I remember those days. La 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 la, carry on talking to Skylar. And we park and we pay for parking. And as we're walking, now it's torrential. It's like raining. And this woman is in the parking lot still wrestling with this kid. And I look, and the kid's about 5, 6, about Skylar's age. And I realize something's not right here. And now this kid has her hair. He's got a pony and she's pulling. And the mom's going, please let go. Okay, come on, let go. This is it. And she's being very patient. And inside the car is a teenage girl just sitting there like this. I'm like, okay. And I will pause and I'm like, oh, I need to see if I can help. And Skylar's like, what are you going to do? And I'm like, I don't know. So I just stopped. I said, I don't mean to interrupt and make things worse, but is there anything I can do? And she says, thank you, no. Someone has upset her and she's heavily autistic. And I just need to get her through. And my heart just broke for her. And she was so patient and so kind. And this rain, they're both in the rain, and this kid is losing it. And she just held the space for this kid incredibly. I'm like, okay, if there's anything I can do, she's like, no, thank you. So we're like, okay, fine. So Skylar is looking at me like, what is going on? And I explain to her what autism is. And as I explain, I burst out crying because I realize, as hard as it is for me doing everything I need to do for my two normal, healthy kids, which is fucking hardcore as it is, you get people like that. So not only has she got an autistic kid who is physically beating her up for the last like 20 minutes, what I've seen, she's got a teenager in the car, mortified and probably giving her shit from the other end because it's so embarrassing. My heart just broke for this woman. And as I was explaining to Skylar, I just burst out crying of gratitude, gratitude, gratitude. And also for gratitude for people like that, because they
Yeah.
say God will only give you what you have the limits for. And I always
Yeah.
think like people like that are incredible, right? Like how?
Yeah.
How? So
Yeah.
to finish the story, we did our shop and we walked out. They were still going. And I couldn't anymore. I actually just wanted to take the child and bundle her into the car. But again, you don't know. You don't know what the story is. So I said, sorry, it's me again. Um, can I don't want to make matters worse, but will a treat help? You don't know, she's probably gonna be like, suck off with your sugar. Or, like at this point, maybe anything will help. But she
A
said,
joint.
maybe we can try. We can try. So I said to the little girl, do you want a sweet? And she was like, ah. I was like, okay. Do you want a chocolate? And she was less growly. I said, do you want to pick a chocolate? And so she slowly warmed up to the idea and kind of growled at me and took a chocolate. And then she opened it and she's eating it, looking at the parking. At least she was off her mother. And I wanted to say to her mother,
Yeah.
run!
Go now, don't look back.
The mother looked a little bit relieved. And then I'm like, okay, is there anything else I can do? So then I caught the teenager's attention. I said, do you want a chocolate? And she was even more mortified, like, oh my God. So I'm like, okay, no chocolate for the teenager. And then the mom said, thank you, you've just broken the cycle. And I was like,
Yeah.
well, good luck with the sugar effect. That might be a whole nother cycle. But, and then we walked away. And I thought, you know what, like too often everyone's just like, I can't help, I can't do anything. And maybe you do make matters worse because sometimes in those situations, the last thing they need is another entity entering.
Mm.
But some just check in. Like everyone's doing their
Mm.
best, and that woman was phenomenal. So yeah, you just don't think about those carers and what other people are going through, and how
Yeah.
do they actually, yeah, connect to their center or have time or even the capacity.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's funny.
Yeah.
I was
Anyway,
just yesterday afternoon, I was busy in the veggie garden and the thoughts, I've been having very challenging time with my son doing grade 7 now. And I mean, he's just got so the backstory is that when we lived in the UK, he was homeschooling and he did very little of the curriculum. He was rather into things like criminology and forensics and law, and that's what he spent his time on. And when we got to South Africa, we were under the false pretense that he would carry on homeschooling because he hated school. He wanted nothing to do with the education system. And that suited me just fine because I'm not keen on the education system either. Um, but anyway, we got here and we realized that we were so remote and there were no other home communities or families around us because we are in a very sort of culturally, it's a very Afrikaans area and everybody does things by the book. It's still, this sort of community has a long way to go in terms of, um, I don't know, Jean, what's the right way to say it? Like in terms of seeing the bigger picture outside of Sunday church and going to school for 12 years and your job and owning your farm and, you know,
it's
there's no such thing as life on other planets. Very sort of,
small
uh,
minded.
yes. Okay. So anyway, so we got here and nobody around for my son. There was nobody to play with or talk to. And my children are very, very social and they have to be around other children all the time. And in the UK, they went to lots of homemade groups, homemade clubs. They were very social, very active. And then we got to the farm, and he was alone for a month because here we arrived in June, so it was just over the July holiday, the long holiday. And I mean, he had his sister and his mom and dad and his opa and opa, but he had nobody he could connect with on his level. And so when my daughter started school, she's always wanted to do, but I didn't let her do school in the UK because I just don't agree with that system. So I said, when we get to South Africa, she's more than welcome. So she went to school, and the school invited my son to come as well. Now, bear in mind that this is an Afrikaans school. They do not speak English. And the Afrikaners are very sticky about being Afrikaans. They protect their language with nail and claw, because, well, tooth and claw, because it is on the verge of disappearing. So they're very, very sensitive about their language. And if you go to an Afrikaans school, then that's it. So my little English Rose and my very English son go to the school and don't understand a word anybody is saying. My husband's Afrikaans. I went to Afrikaans schools growing up, but we never taught the kids Afrikaans so that we could have private conversations in front of them. So
Priorities.
now, yeah. Well, we thought we would be coming back to South Africa and putting our children into an Afrikaans school in Urikstad, Limpopo. I mean, that was not like on the game plan. But anyway,
Yeah.
so now he's in grade 7, and they're starting the final exam in the next 2 weeks. And for term 3, which is what they've done, he did very well. He excelled in all his subjects except Afrikaans. And Afrikaans, so in South Africa, you have to pass English, Afrikaans, and those are the 3 subjects you have to pass to get to the next grade. And Savas got 13% for Afrikaans. I
For
didn't
a
know a
language
grade like that was possible for a language
that he
for
just
Afrikaans.
started. Dude, yeah. I don't know if I would have got.
But then the school was very good in like they would, for his term 3 exams, they would sit individually with them and read the questionnaires out in English, and he could write his exam in English. The only exam he couldn't do that for was Afrikaans, understandably so. So they called me in at the beginning of this term and said, listen, like, we need to do something if he's going to go to high school. So the pressure is on. So now
Hans High School.
he's going to a bilingual high school. His classes will be in English, but there are also Afrikaans children with Afrikaans classes. Okay. So, so not only has he had all this pressure of being in a school where he doesn't understand anything, but also he has to, all his books, his textbooks are in Afrikaans. The instructions he gets are in Afrikaans. And so now I've had the joy and the deep privilege of translating everything for grade 7 to my dyslexic son, who now has to try and understand what I'm saying. And then even his English teacher was in the meeting that I was in at the beginning of the term saying his English is shocking. His spelling is shocking. Said, I know. So while I am translating Afrikaans to English, I'm also teaching him to spell English, that he doesn't fail his English exam. And so the weekends and the evenings are just filled with study, translate, study. And yesterday afternoon, after almost killing him numerous times because not only am I dealing with that challenge, but he's also 14 and thinks he knows everything. So then he corrects me as well. So I was in my vegetable garden later, just having a breather, connecting with the soil, breathing deep, and that thought just ran into my mind. Thank God I don't have to deal with an autistic child because this is what this is hard enough, you know?
Yeah.
And then that thought came into my mind. Like, and I
Mm.
remember in the UK, I worked with autistic kids, and it was, it's a different world. It's a different world. And I was very grateful that my shift would end and I could go home to my normal family with my normal children in my normal environment. So, yeah, that's funny. I had exactly that thought process yesterday afternoon. It's
Amazing.
quite
Wow.
interesting. Yeah,
Yeah, but it's
yeah.
definitely the type of person that finds that in their life. I think they either you have to rewire or you just were born to have the patience for it. You know, like oh, it's you can't just operate like we operate with our kids. You know, you can't just pick them up and put them and sort them out and like give them a word and move on. Like, oh, yeah,
Karate.
yeah. And so for you, Miss Banks, you also had quite a revelation in terms of moving forward with your
Oh,
life.
yes. Well, it's been very frustrating. Actually, it's been a kind of frustrating few months. But I realized that every project I touched was being stalled and stalled and stalled, and I just couldn't get a project finalized. It didn't matter what I did. It was from the people I was dealing with to the venues I was dealing with to the IT I was dealing with to it was just not moving. And so I sat down and had a good long hard talk with myself about what the fuck was going on. And and what came out was that every project I was doing, everything I was touching was relying on other people to help move it forward, to help take it further. And then I realized, okay, so I'm actually giving away my power, but I didn't think I was because I thought I was collaborating and, bringing, like making my job, man. But that's,
Subconscious. Yep.
yeah, exactly. But subconsciously, I realized that I didn't think that I was capable of doing it on my own. And
Oh.
then I thought, okay, well, fuck that. Shall we go then? And I started a project that is only I can do. I've been putting it off for maybe 3 years now. And I thought, okay, I'm going to do it. And I started. And then 3 days later, everybody I've been waiting for started getting back to me with answers and the next step. And so, and then I was like, oh, okay. So it's almost like by trying to involve everybody else, I was stopping my flow. And when I made that realization, it's like the blockage disappeared and everything could start flowing again. So it feels like that this work that I'm supposed to be doing um, is important and needs to be done. And I keep putting it off and putting it off and finding other projects to keep busy with. But the universe has other ideas. And so it made it quite evidently clear that I need to crack on with my own stuff too, because the
Mm,
other projects did carry on rolling forward again.
yes.
So I need to work on it all at the same time. And that was very interesting, and I thought I've been watching here in South Africa. We have a bird called the southernmost weaver, and they come every summer, and we've got a tree right outside the house, and they start making their nests. But how these birds make their nests is they tear thin strips of palm, sort of frond. It's like a strip of palm because they sort of they palms in arid regions. They're not like ferns. And they strip the palms and then they have thin little strips one by one, and then they start weaving their nests. And I always find it so interesting how the bird with no hands can weave these nests that are so intricate and so tight. The weave is so tight, it's waterproof and it holds the mom and the babies inside. And there's got a little hole at the bottom, so the birds have to go in under the hole, so that it prevents snakes from coming in and eating the eggs. And these birds work tirelessly to make this nest, and only the males weave, and then the females come and they inspect the nest. And if it's not up to standard, they pull the nest off. No matter how far into the build the male is, if the female doesn't think it's good enough, she rips it off, and we have loads of nests just laying on the ground. And
Try
then
again.
the male starts again, and he goes and he gets his first piece, and he starts wiring it around or wrapping it around the branch. And in the chaos, I mean, it is chaos because there are hundreds of these birds. It is noisy, and there are just birds everywhere, and nests everywhere, and chirping. They're very, very loud. And other birds will come and land on the nest or on his branch, and he's like laser focused. Just goes live, he gets another one, comes, tries it. It's another one, tries it. And then after a few strips, he'll just sit on his branch and he'll just rest quietly. And he'll go get another one and he'll try. And then the female can come again and say, "Oh, sorry, buddy." Throw it off. And then he'll go to another one and start again. And, there's no complaining. There's no sighing. There's no like, "Oh, I'm going to give up." He just goes and gets another one, starts again. And then eventually he gets it right. Sometimes they get it right the first time. Sometimes they don't. They have to do it a few times, but they do eventually get the nest done. And then their heads go bright red, and then they score. And then it's all been worth it. Got their little woman and their eggs in their little nest, and life's groovy. So yeah, I just watch these guys and I think, they like that's how I feel all the time. It's just get another strip and tie it
Yeah.
around. Get another strip and tie it around. But I need to learn to do it with more, purpose. They're just purposeful, the male weavers. That's
Like you
their
say,
purpose. They have to feel their purpose, and that's it.
but they're also laser focused, right? Which is a luxury. They don't have to do all other shit that we have to do. But yeah, it's just that laser focus, right? They
Yeah,
don't have to do
yeah.
laundry and shit.
No, no. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe the females are like they spiteful. They're like, "Fuck you! I have to do the laundry and the cooking and the cleaning, and no matter how good the house is, they just rip it off just to like get back."
Payback. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so and that's how I felt like just before our women's circle with our previous retreat girls in the Woodlands retreat, just before that circle morning, actually, I was just like, because this was just before my revelation, and I just thought, I don't know why. When you just feel like you don't know why you're bothering, why you're wasting your time,
Mm.
why. you put in such effort and you're not getting the return, and it just feels all very sort of bleh.
One-sided. Mm.
Yeah, and it's just like you have to question why are you doing what you're doing. And then we had the call with the girls from the Woodland Retreat, and I got off that call and I was just like, that's why I do
Exactly.
what we do. It was such an amazing call. So what we did is we had a Woodlands retreat in, it was May, hey, this year, just before I came over to South Africa. And we did a reaction session with all those girls, and they were all talking about how wonderful it was and how they've been using the skill, the tools that we delivered over that weekend, and how much they love and need connection with other sisters. And um,
Mm.
and then we had good news to tell them that we had started a membership site for all our previous sisters and also for new sisters coming in. I don't know if you want to share more on that, Spanks.
Yeah, so the membership is actually live at the moment. It's on our website. Um, and what we have done, so when you click on it, it will take you to the link. And every month we'll have a sister circle online. And this is just a safe space where you can come and you don't even have to talk. If you just need that connection, if you're just craving being a part of something, it's a really beautiful community that we have, and it's a beautiful community that we've built in pockets, and we're just bringing it together now because in the day and age that we live in, it's very interesting how many people, although we're always so busy, how disconnected we are from each other. For many people, we live far from our families, our friends, our circles. We don't really have
Are
time for
busy.
friends, or we're moved. Sorry.
Our friends are busy.
Yeah, everyone's busy, everyone's got their lives, it's all going on. And sometimes, even with our friends, when we do see them, we want to catch up and have it light. We keep it light. We don't want to, get all deep and get all. So, this is a place where you don't even have to get deep. You could just come, and we always open the space. It's a heart-centered space. And so it really is a beautiful energy. You just have to come and sit there and you feel uplifted being a part of it. And people can share or not, just hold the space. And it's fascinating listening to other women and just being a part of it, the strength that you gain from being a part of something like that. You go in one way and you come out another way, regardless of what whether you spoke or whether you just sat and listened. Perspective is always life changing. And being a part of a circle where women are sharing changes your perspective every time. And so we do that once a month. And then we also do a coaching session. Samantha does a group coaching session. So you can jump on and she'll open the floor and answer a few questions. But maybe for one person, like zoning in, lasering in for one person, or maybe several questions. But again, the perspective changes. When you listen in, you can apply that. It doesn't have to be your life or your situation. Those learnings are applicable to all of us all the time. And then I do a sound bath, a group sound bath. It's all mic'd up. You can get a nice, beautiful sound bath in the warmth and comfort of your own home. And then on top of that, you get discounts for workshops and retreats we have coming up. You will get first dibs on them, and a constant discount. So it's basically early bird for you throughout the life until we are sold out. Um, yeah. So that is up and live at the moment. So you can pay monthly. It's £12 a month.
That because we're all women and we're all there to support each other, when you come to these sessions, you don't have to dolly up. You don't have to put on a nice shirt. You don't have to put on makeup and jewelry. I go in my pajamas. Just come as you are.
Yeah.
Seriously, it's not supposed to be stressful. If the kids come in the room, that's fine. If you get a phone call, just put yourself on mute. And if you need to take the call, take the call. There's no pressure. It's just
Yeah.
another support system for women who are who are living their lives. And we know that life goes on. So don't feel
Mm,
pressure that for that time, like everything's going to be just so. It's so not like that. It's exactly the opposite. So
mm.
I think that's
It's important, yeah.
just know that. Yeah.
And yeah, so it's monthly, it's £12 a month. But if you join up for the year, you get 2 months free. So it's 120 quid for the year.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can cancel it any time. It's not like a subscription where you have to sign up. You can join, check it out, it's not for you, cancel. But
No, don't
I think
cancel. You're not allowed to cancel.
no, but I think now more than ever, um, these are the spaces we need. Women have always had these in the past, and then it just stopped. And we are out there slogging by ourselves for the majority of the time. So it's really nice to have a place to breathe.
And what
Yeah.
we notice from our retreats is that women always say, we crave the connection we had on the retreats. Just
Mm,
that connection with other women who were real and raw and open and honest, authentic. It kind of that's what happens on retreats. And
mm,
so the woman needs that. You realize only when you've done it, you realize, oh shit, like that's missing from my life, and they miss it. So that's the space where it all comes together.
yeah. Yeah. Okay, cool. So we're going on 48 minutes. We should probably wrap up, Spanx.
Yeah.
I'll see you soon.
Okay. Love you lots.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye.